Welcome to Main Street Mavericks, celebrating conversations with exceptional Main Street businesses who serve friends and neighbors in your community. Here's your host, Joel Helfer.
Good afternoon, this is Joel Helfer, and welcome to another episode of Main Street Mavericks Radio. Today we have a really outstanding guest. I'm lucky to have him on the show. His name is Steve Sipress. Steve Sipress is an expert's expert in marketing. He has made more businessmen multimillionaires than I could even count. His accomplishments would take the whole interview, but let me list a few of them. He's the owner of Selling Systems Incorporated and Automatic Contractor Profits. He has a monthly magazine called Money Making Monthly. He was a member of the Joe Polish Historic 25K group. He's a best-selling author, and the name of his book is The Ultimate Entrepreneur Success Secrets. He was Dan Kennedy's #1 certified business advisor in Chicago, and he is the current founder of the WOW strategy. And all I can say is wow. Steve, your accomplishments and resume is endless. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Joel, and I apologize for the confusion of a couple of those things in there. I did have Money Making Magazine. I renamed that to the Rhino Monthly Magazine to go along with my Rhino Daily blog and my Rhino Daily podcast, the Rhino being the symbol of the entrepreneur. I named it all the same thing, and I also am the best-selling author of 24 different books, but I thank you for naming one of them. No, and it is a joy to be here, and I love what you're doing here with this Mavericks Radio, and I'm honored to be on here, and I'm ready to serve your audience any way I can.
Well, thank you very much, and like I said, I only had the tip of the iceberg of your accomplishments because one of the things I admire most about you, Steve, is your ability to take action and get things done. You don't talk about it, you do it. And that's a skill that our listening audience can learn from and learn from you is if you don't get something done, you can't make any money. And
I am a big fan of taking massive, fast action. I love the saying, money loves speed. Money also loves action, and I am all about it.
And I love your concept that we talked about before where you look for the fastest path to the money.
Why not? Why not? Why would I look for the slowest path to the smallest amount of money? Let's look for the easiest, quickest path to some cash coming in, and then we can play the saying we can play with house money, right? We can then get some cash flowing in, and then we have some cash to invest in some other things. So, a new client comes on, he's like, what should I do? I'm like, we should do something right away that brings you some quick money so we can then turn that money around and make some more money.
Oh, I totally agree, and that leads us right into our topic today, which is your invention and your philosophy to help people make money as fast as possible. It's called the WOW strategy. Tell us a little bit about the WOW strategy and how it all came to happen.
Okay, well, the WOW strategy, it came to happen because, I've run businesses my whole life, and starting, over 35 years ago, I started my first multi-million-dollar business, and yet it was probably like so many small business owners, maybe all your listeners, that I started the business, I enjoyed doing it, but I wasn't that great at any of the behind-the-scenes stuff. I'm not an accounting expert. I'm not an expert on HR and hiring and taxes and ordering supplies and, finding an office space. All the stuff that the business has to do. Well, you can lump in there also advertising, marketing. I'm not an expert in any of that. So I kind of looked around and seated my pants and figured, everyone else is doing it. Let's do that. And, I didn't have the respect for anything behind the scenes that I really should have looking back. And I made a ton of mistakes, and I left a lot of money on the table. And I also had all these ups and downs. Everything I'm saying is probably familiar to your audience. I had ups and downs because I didn't have systems in place and didn't really know what I was doing. I would never be as haphazard with the front end of my business. Anything that I was selling to the customer, well, that had to be done correctly, and that had to look good and smell good, and everything had to be good that the customer sees. But behind the scenes, holy crap, my business was a disaster. So I messed up business after business and lost opportunity after opportunity. I finally just got sick and tired, and I said, I got to find a better way. And I started, first I read a book somebody gave me, and then I went to a conference of that author, and then I started traveling around to other conferences, and this whole world opened up where I was like, man, there are experts in the marketing of a small business. I was like, what the heck? And I dove into it. I have this compulsive part of my personality that has to just get as much of anything as I can. So I dove into conference after conference and courses and books, and all told, I'm looking at my library here has 11 bookshelves floor to ceiling, and I moved a couple of years ago, and I had 13 bookshelves floor to ceiling that I sold and gave away about half the stuff and went down to 6 bookcases, and now back up to 11, and it just keeps going up again. So I got into all this stuff, but it took me years to really get good at it, and still had ups and downs and very confusing. What should I do? What should I not? Who should I listen to? So to answer your question, the WOW strategy is I said, here's the deal. I got to simplify this. I got to simplify this. My mom was a school teacher, which has an everlasting effect on me that I just grew up believing that it's your obligation, that if you learn something, it's your obligation to share it and teach it to somebody else. And so I always grew up that way. And I said, I started helping other business owners. They would always ask me, with all my success, how'd you do it? What are you doing? Explain this. What's going on? It's so complex, so convoluted, so confusing, haphazard, all over the place. Everyone's got a different shiny object, and you ought to buy this, and you ought to do it this way. So I narrowed it down, and when I sat down to narrow it down, and they say making something simple takes longer than making it complex. I mean, it took me a while, but I boiled it down to 3 factors, 3 letters, and that's why I call it the WOW strategy. The first W stands for the who. You got to know who you're talking to. Your marketing, your advertising, your sales has to be all about the customer, the client, the patient, the member, whoever you're selling to. Has to be all about them. Everything was about me, and a lot of advertising, probably 95% of it that I see from businesses is all about me. It's about what they do and what their name is and what their logo is and how long they've been in business and they're family-owned and operated. And it's all me. You got to think about you, about the customer. You got to talk to them. You got to find a problem they have and then offer them a solution. And that's the W. And then you have to have an O, which I call the irresistible offer. It's got to be irresistible. Why would you want to put out a resistible offer? Put out an irresistible offer where they really can't say no, to at least get them to start having a relationship with you. Something simple that you can do, that you can serve them, that you can show you're on time, you do what you say, your work is great. I mean, why try selling a big, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 remodeling job right off the bat? You know how difficult that is if you're a remodeler. Why don't you say for free, I'll come in and do such and such, and not just a free estimate. Everybody does that nonsense. Make it something irresistible. Say, I will come in and replace your faucet for free. I'll come in and I'll fix anything for free. I'll do this for free. I'll do something. Figure out some irresistible low-end offer you can get in there, and then you can start to get to know them and sell. So, figure out an irresistible offer, and then the last W is the way. Figure out the best way from your customer's viewpoint of getting that irresistible offer in front of your chosen who that you want to do business with and you want to get paid by. So that's, and I just simplified it that way, and it works. And I've been using it for years with hundreds and over 1,000 clients, like WOW. Wow. I mean, you'll say wow. Your customers will say wow. Whoever handles your accounting and your bank account and your taxes will say, wow, what the heck is going on? It's so simple. So you got to have all 3. This is the tough thing, though. You have to have all 3 of them working. So if any one is out of place, it's not going to work. You have to have the right who, the right irresistible offer, and the right way of getting that offer to that who anything that's not working for you in your marketing or advertising is because of either one or two or all three of those areas. So I can come in, diagnose the situation pretty simply. We can focus on fixing whatever needs to be fixed. We can get that thing working quickly, powerfully, and get some money coming in.
That's a fantastic system, and it's easy to understand. And seems to me like what you're saying is most people complicate the situation rather than just find a few things to get really good at that they can do over and over and over again to make more and more money. Would you say that?
Well, you see, but that's not their fault. That's what the sellers, either they do it on purpose or at least they do it subconsciously. But if you're selling these solutions and you're some kind of expert and a guru in an industry and a speaker and a writer and an author and whatever, it's tremendously to their benefit to make it complex, so that you have to buy another book of theirs and you have to go to another conference and you have to buy another course. I mean, I've probably invested over $500,000 into my own marketing education, and a lot of this stuff is so redundant. They just say it in different ways. They call it different things, but when it all boils down, again, just look to those three letters. Look to the word wow, and it all boils down to they're all talking about either how to sell the stuff with an irresistible offer, make people an offer they just can't refuse, make it easy to sell. They're all talking about how to target the market and identify the problem and find the niche and the way, and the way. I mean, come on, that's the most convoluted of all. You got people coming at you. If you're a business owner right now, you know your inbox is probably filled with people coming at you with shiny objects, with all kinds of different ways, saying you got to do, and especially if you go to a chamber meeting or talk to other business owners, you get pulled in every direction, because one will tell you, man, I'm doing Facebook ads, it's great. I'm doing Google ads, man, my website's great. I'm doing text message marketing. Man, I'm sending out these postcards. My newsletter's going crazy. Oh, I wrote a book. I got interviewed on the radio station. Man, I have a blog. I have a podcast. There's so many different ways that you could just go haywire out the door. And I used to look at it, Joel, all the wrong way. I would look at it from my perspective, and I'd say, what way do I want to use? I would like to do that, regardless of the proper thinking, which is the who, the wow strategy. I got to think about what way do they want me to communicate with them, right? I always say, I mean, for example, what if I just woke up one morning and said, I want my friend here just told me about how he's making so much money with text message marketing. I've never done that. I want to get into text message marketing. But what if I'm selling something to seniors? What if I'm selling, I've fallen and I can't get up, or the scooters or whatever seniors are buying? Does that make any sense? I want to do text marketing. Who cares what I want to do text messages? They don't want to get text messages.
Right.
They want to get direct mail. They want to have a big brochure sent in the mail and get a call and a visit from a salesperson. They want to see a late-night TV commercial. There's ways that they want to get the information. It's not about what I want to give them. So everyone's got their different way and methods of teaching and explaining things, but it's almost their benefit to overcomplicate it. Heck, I could be unscrupulous and say it would be to my benefit to complicate it and not just call it the wow strategy. What if I called it the wow amazing strategy, and I made up 8 other letters, or however many letters in the word amazing, and made them all stand for something? Well, then I could sell more books and more courses and have people pay me more money to take years to learn this thing. Screw that. I'm a simple person. I like making money quickly. I like making a lot of it. I like it as simple as possible. It's WOW. That's all there is to it. Wow.
This is a fascinating topic because, and it's something that I want to talk a little bit about more, because the average person, when they decide to use the online world as a marketplace to make money, gets so sidetracked in all the different things that they have to learn and they have to know, rather than just developing their own skills. What advice would you give them on how to say no? Because it seems like that's the one skill that can save you tremendous amount of time, tremendous amount of effort, and get you closer to whatever your outcome is quicker. And most people just don't know how to say no, and they buy everything in sight, and they do everything rather than focusing on one particular skill that they're good at it and developing and just getting better and better and better at it. How do you get them to change their mindset?
Yes, indeed. Great question. I got two things on it. Number one is it not necessarily do you even should pick something or try and learn something for you to be good at it. Okay, as a business owner, unless you're different than all the business owners I know, the reason we're a business owner, the reason we're different than a 9-to-5 worker or just a regular person walking around is the first thing we think whenever we're presented with a problem is not how am I going to solve that. We think, who am I going to get to solve that? I mean, don't we? I mean, Joel, you ran your glass business for years. I mean, if somebody came in and said, I got an order for a big industrial order, we need 100 windows in a new school we're putting up, whatever, was the first thought of you was like, how am I going to do that? That's a lot of windows to carry, and I need more.
Who was I going to call to get a price from to do it for me?
Who am I going to get to do this? So again, we don't do this with the back end of our business. So we'll sit down and go, oh, I guess I can keep track of the checkbook. I'll do some account. We do things ourselves. I'll pick up the phone. I'll go to Staples and I'll get office supply. I'll do things. That's not thinking like a business person. So when it comes to the marketing, I just think that's nothing personal. I just think that's kind of the wrong way to look at it, wrong question to ask. Don't be asking, what can I get good at? Can I get good at Facebook ads? Really? I mean, you could. I guess you could take the courses and study the website of Facebook and figure everything out and get good at Facebook ads. And then a month from now, Facebook changes all the rules and takes something away and adds something else and cuts out everybody's ads. And now you got to go through it all again. What do you want to do that for? Why don't you just get an expert in Facebook advertising and let him or her take care of all the crazy changes and keep up with everything and figure it all out and get them to get results. Again, it's marketing. So if it gets results, okay, if I pay somebody to do some marketing and they may bring me in $100,000 and I give them $10,000, I'm pretty happy that they just brought me $90,000 out of thin air, more than I had before. I'm not going to take all my time to learn that. But the second thing is, actually, that's one of my nicknames. I've been called over the years that I'm the cure for the shiny object, right? The shiny object syndrome of, you get pulled in every direction and you want to buy everything and learn everything. It's a lot of times it's my clients' wives will tell me all the time, like, I got to thank you so much because ever since so-and-so started working with you, he doesn't buy everything anymore. He's not all over the place anymore. Thank you so much. It's almost like my fee. They're happy with my fee because it's less than what the guy used to just buy everything. So they don't even care if I make a money, which, of course, I do. She's just happy that he's spending less money than not throwing all their money away on crap and piling it up in what I call shelf help. I mean, even I have programs here that still have the wrapper on them. I mean, like, give me a break, cut that out, get back to the one or two ways to get your irresistible offer in front of your ideal target and let them start giving you money and focus and put it out of your mind, all the other stuff, until you have so much money to play with that you really just want to play with a few things. But all you got to do is find one that works, and then maybe a second, maybe a third one, because you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, but you want to start with one. Pick one that works. There's so many businesses that make a killing off of one way. That's all they do is one way. Anyone heard of the Sham Wow? I'm sure your listeners have heard of the Sham Wow. They had only one way of selling that thing. They had a TV infomercial, and they played that thing nonstop for months. Right now, I see a guy on TV all the time, the My Pillow guy. This guy is playing the same commercial for over a year, and he's selling pillows. Pillows, come on. It's a piece of cloth with some stuff in it. I mean, it costs like $1 or $2 to make, and he's selling them for 10 or 15 or 20 bucks like they're water for over a year with the same stupid commercial, with the same stupid message over and over. He's not sitting there at home going, maybe I should text message, hey, do you want to buy a pillow? But no, cut that out. I got one way that's working. Let's go beat it to death. Let's bring the money in and then go to the beach. I mean, go relax. Like, enjoy the fact that you got something working.
Well, it's kind of like going to school, where when you start going to school in the first grade, you stay in the same school until you finish 5th or 6th grade. Then maybe you go to a middle school and maybe you go to a high school. but every week you're not going to a different school.
That's a great way of putting it. I know people, and maybe you do too, and maybe some of the listeners that are military kids that had that kind of tumultuous upbringing, that they were, moving around from base to base, and they went from school to school, and that's not what you want to do to a kid. I mean, now in the long run, we'll get off the topic, but I look back at anything is a positive because it builds you to who you are, and those kids are really strong. I mean, they know how to make friends. They know how to get into a new area. Me going, or like you're saying, going to the same school for 6 straight years, you get a little lazy, complacent. It's the same people. It's the same route to school. These people are much more adaptable and on and on. But the thing is, to a kid, that's a little kind of crazy. So you're right. Why would you do that to yourself? Why would you say, I got to jump all over the place from school to school? And another thing, like you're saying, it's until I don't know what grade it was, but at least for the first 6th grade, you have one teacher. Now I'm going to teach you English. Now I'm going to teach you math. Now I'm going to teach you science. You're in one classroom, one teacher, and then suddenly you get to junior high, high school, middle school, wherever it is. Then now suddenly, there's a science teacher. Oh, look, there's a math. Now you're going around from class to class. That's more complicated. Why do you want to complicate it more by going around from school to school with class to class? And you're right. That's exactly what people are doing when they look at anything in their business and they say, I got to jump all over the place. I mean, you don't do that with your tools. If you like Craftsman tools, you're not suddenly walking through the Home Depot going to the Craftsman tools and your eyes get caught, by another brand next to it and start buying all that stuff. Why would you do that with anything behind the scenes of your business?
It almost seems to me like people start this whole marketing process, if you want to call it a strategy, with no outcome in mind. And I always like to work backwards. What am I trying to achieve from all this? And once I figure out what the outcome is, then I try to put in all the parts and pieces. And I love your strategy because your strategy is really so simple when you talk about finding the right people to sell it to, which makes sense. Give them an offer they can't refuse, and then finding the best ways to deliver it to them where they get it the quickest and you get paid the fastest. And that's
that's great. It's so great you say that, Joe. I'm such a fan of simple. Maybe the listeners aren't and they can't relate, but I'm such a fan of simple. And opposites attract. My beautiful wife, Michelle, loves beautiful things and fancy this, and she knows all about all the different art and the clothes and the this and the what. On me, like what? Like I wear one piece of jewelry. It's a ring. Like it's my wedding ring. That's it. Like my hair. I mean, my out. People see now. If they could go and look me up online, and they'll see my videos, and they'll see my photos of me all over the internet, and they're like, "You're always wearing the same thing." That's because that's all I own. All I own is like 10 white button-down shirts and 3 or 4 blue blazers and a black belt and black shoes, and that's it. I mean, blue socks. I mean, I don't have to think about what to wear. I'm too simple for that. My hair is always, they're like, you look the same in every photo. I'm like, my hair is always the same. My everything is always the same. That's it. Here's the deal. I live in the world of small business, right? Small business marketing. I mean, that's enough craziness, enough uncertainty. I mean, there's always new prospects calling. There's always new things going on. The Internet's changing every day. Things are changing in the society, and regulations are changing every day. And who knows what's going on with taxes and Obamacare and this and that. That's a ton of uncertainty. I need to simplify as much as I can in my life, because when you simplify, you can focus. I was on the chess team when I was a kid. Like, chess is a pretty darn simple game. Now, I know that I was never, any real seriously great player. These guys are like, make it so complex. I mean, they know all the moves and all the openings and all the this and that and whatever. You can read volumes and books on it and whatever. But if you really just want to play it on the level I play, it's really darn simple. There's like a pawn, and there's a castle, and there's a knight, and a king and a queen and a bishop. I think that's it. That's like all the pieces. And one moves diagonal and one moves straight. And it's just so simple that I can play that on my level, and yet somebody, Bobby Fischer, can play it on some outrageous level. So when you're first starting out with anything, why not just keep it simple? Get some success. Give yourself a break. Get some success. Like I said, get some speed to the money. Find someone to help you that will look at it that way and not look at you like you're their cash machine. So many consultants look at clients like they're a cash machine. Oh, if I can, draw this out and do some long, big project and tell them you need a real big, complex website and a real complex funnel, and this is going to take 6 months, and I can charge them $50,000 and a hoo-ha or whatever. If you want, go ahead and get that guy if you want. But I like the guy who'll say, here's the deal. We can do all that. But first, let's do a very simple website with a very simple this and a very simple that. Let's bring in some money now. Let's simplify everything. And then if you want to get complex and you want to get all involved in things, go ahead.
Would you say that, based on what you're telling me, is that not to be respectful and not to be too critical of the industry, but the industry, as I've seen it, and as the money I've spent, is exactly the opposite of everything we're talking about, and that if there's nothing else that the listening audience can get out of this nice conversation you're having, is that to do almost the opposite of everything that you see and you read when you look at all these offers that you're confronted with almost on a minute-to-minute basis on either a Gmail account or a Facebook account.
Well, now, you brought up a big word, this doing the opposite. I'm a big fan of being an outlaw, being a renegade, going against the grain. I mean, that's the only way to succeed. I mean, look around at the mass of people there are, and most people are broke. Most people are going to retire and have not enough money. Most people do not run their own business. Most people. You don't want to be most people. You don't want to do what the crowd is doing. You want to be different. You want to be a renegade. You want to do the opposite, like you said. So, yeah, I've always been a troublemaker and a renegade and look to, I always say, I don't say like I hate the rules, because I like rules. I need to know what the rules are so I know what to break. See, I need to know what the rules are so I know what not to do. That's the way I attack business. I look around and I see what everybody else is doing. I mean, every business card looks the same. Every website looks the same. Every truck looks the same. Every yellow page looks the same. Just about everybody's business to the customer, it all looks the same. So you wonder why you default to having to sell on price, because you're not giving them any other reason to buy. You just look like everybody else. Then you see somebody who's doing something so totally different that they stand out and they get all the attention. I mean, we're looking right now as we record this, we're looking at our President of the United States. That's how he won. I mean, every other politician was like, oh, no, you can't insult your way to the White House, and that's not how it's done, and, you're not normal, and you're not a politician. And yeah, but that's, America was like sick and tired of like everything being the same. Put a wild, crazy lunatic into the office. Like, that's what we did. We said, like, Washington sucks. It doesn't work. They don't do anything. Let's just throw in somebody who'll be a bull in the china shop and wreck the whole place. And that's exactly what he's doing. Well, you don't want to get it to that level in your business where it's so dysfunctional and so bad that you need to call somebody in to wreck the whole thing. You need to look at any opportunity you have as, if everyone's doing this, I got to stand out from the crowd. In fact, as I mentioned that, I actually have a podcast that I've been doing with my partner Everett for almost a year called the Lessons Learned from Donald Trump Podcast. And we talk about stuff just like this every week on a new episode. We talk about how to stand out from the crowd. Now, obviously, you don't want to duplicate, probably 90% of the stuff the guy does. But there's stuff he does that translates to success for small business. And a lot of it is what you're mentioning. It's about doing the opposite, doing something different, having everyone go, that's crazy, whatever. But man, he's getting all the attention, and he's gotten a lot of stuff done. He's made a lot of money. I mean, he's certainly had a lot of success doing it his way. Why would you want to be just another HVAC guy? Then when I ask them, why would someone call you instead of someone else, they almost invariably say, I guess because I'm the closest guy. Like, I'm just an HVAC guy. What are you talking about? Man, in a 15-minute conversation, I can pull out a unique story from any small business owner, no matter how much they think I'm just like everyone else. I just do what I do. The phone rings, I go fix the clogged toilet. That's what I do. No, there's a story behind why you're doing that and who you are and how you do it. Let's pull out that unique story. Let's give people a reason to call you instead of anybody else.
Oh, you're 100% right. I agree. Like, for example, to digress and go over to Trump for a minute, there's been more people marching on the streets in the 3 weeks since he's been elected than even during the Vietnam War. And you would think most people would be upset by that, right? He loves it.
That's a good point.
Not enough people are marching. Keep them coming.
Yeah, he either loves it or ignores it, but I think we don't think in it. You can listen to my podcast, but I think he encourages it. I mean, it's very smart. Well, everyone's paying attention to something stupid, like the court ruled against his illegal ban against Muslims or whatever the heck. Now they're not paying any attention to anything else he's doing. What's he doing to mess around with tax reform or Obamacare this or who he's appointing to something or whatever he's doing? They're not paying any attention because they're all getting sucked into this nonsense about some temporary whatever. I don't even understand the whole thing because he put out some 90-day temporary thing and they're going through the courts with it. Like, I don't know about you, but anytime I go to the courts, 90 days, nothing takes only 90 days. Like, why don't you just get to work on whatever you wanted to do in those 90 days and get it done? Because that doesn't make sense. Trump wants to get your attention diverted to that so the press and everybody else in Congress, they can only pay attention to so much. He can get so much other stuff done by deflecting them all over the place. Well, we're getting a little off topic, but you can do that stuff in your business too. When you're doing stuff and your competition is looking at it going, oh, gee, they're doing this, and they're paying attention to that, you can behind the scenes be doing so much other stuff that they don't even see, and you can suck all the money out of your area for the target clients that you want to do business with. You can become the obvious choice for your chosen target because you're going to focus only on them while everyone else is trying to get anybody that'll just get the phone to ring. Screw that. Why do you want the phone ringing with crummy clients? Let's let the crummy clients go to somebody else. Let's even make them go to somebody else by telling them we don't want them. And let's get all the really good clients that'll pay us high prices because they run really good work, and we can work less, have systems in place, and make more money. What is wrong with that?
Well, that's exactly what we want. As a matter of fact, one last key point that I want to spend a minute or two on is that the type of person that most people try to cultivate as a client, and most people are trying to cultivate people who are actually spending time in front of a computer. And that's exactly what I don't like to do. I like to get in front of the people who don't even have time to turn on the computer other than to buy something maybe or look at something their kids did because they're too busy running a business and selling real products to real people. That's where we came up with the name Main Street Mavericks for the show, where these are brick-and-mortar business people, and those are the people who have money to buy your products and services, where most people are spending too much time with Gmail and Facebook and everything else trying to cultivate people who have no money.
Yeah, not only no money, you hit the nail on the head, not only no money, but they also have it's too easy for them to look around and get bombarded with everybody's shiny objects again. And if you got 40 different people trying to sell something to somebody and you're number 42, I mean, good luck. Why don't you want to be the only one who's actually sending them something in the mail? I mean, I open my mailbox every day, and there's almost nothing in it ever. If somebody would send me something, it would get my attention. But if you send me an email, crap, I open my email box every day, too, and that thing is overloaded. I mean, the old saying, you've got mail, has hardly been a positive for like 15 years. It's a huge negative. Oh, crap. The frame of mind that I open my email every day is, crap, how quickly can I weed through all this crap and get rid of it and get to anything that's good? But when I open my mailbox, there's nothing competing for my competition. Man, so you're right. Why don't you be in the place where your competition is not and get the attention of people in ways that they're not, and you can get the money from your ideal prospects that they will not, of course.
And that alone makes this a worthwhile discussion, because that's one thing that I invested a lot of money in learning what not to do, which is comical, rather than learning what to do. And that may be the sad reality for a lot of people who want to make money with a computer, is you make the money just using the computer as a tool, no different than a pencil, a piece of paper, or stapler, and actually providing a good product or service to people in the real world who can use it. Would you say that's true?
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, I mean, it's a matter of going against the grain, and don't get sucked into just the fact that, like, oh, but what do you mean, Steve, to send something in the mail that costs money? I got to put a stamp, an envelope, I got to get it printed, I got to send it out. It costs money. If I send an email, that's free. Yeah, but it's worth every penny also. Again, it's 1 out of 300 emails that probably goes into their spam junk folder, doesn't even get opened or read or clicked on. I mean, when's the last time you got an email newsletter and you saw it and you said, oh, I'll go back and read that, and then, of course, you never went back to read it. But what if you got a newsletter in the mail and you said, I got to read that, and it sat on the table? Well, you're going to pick it up and look at it. I mean, email is not free, because it cost you the opportunity to do something else that made money. And if you bombard people with emails, they're going to just stop paying attention to or opt out or not get them all together. So email's not free, not to mention you got to have email systems and email services, and you got to have your computer and have somebody to send them all out and whatever. Like, once you get your way that's working for you, if that happens to be an email, great. If it happens, which of course I got everything in my systems. It can be emails, it can be postcards, it can be but it's not. You don't focus on what the cost is or how easy it is to do. Why would you focus on that? Why don't you focus on the results? Focus on what it gets you, what it brings you back. If a postcard costs 50 cents to send out, but you make $100 for the average of every one you send out, because you send out 100 of them and you bring in $1,000 worth of business or whatever, why would you focus on the fact that it costs a little bit more for that postcard when the emails, you send out 1,000 emails and you get only $100 back? I mean, it's like, what if you were buying a stock? I mean, Joel, if I said, you can buy this stock, and somehow I had a crystal ball and could guarantee the stock was going to go up by $100 in a month. Mm. Would you ask me, oh, yeah, but, how much is the price of that stock? I mean,
wouldn't matter if you make money.
It's not about the cost of the share of the stock. I just told you you're going to make $100 from each share. The cost is only got to do with how many shares can you afford to buy. So, yeah, if you have, 5,000 people in your area that are your potential ideal target, I wouldn't suggest you mail out 5,000 postcards at once. Send out a few hundred at a time and get some money coming in, and then send out a few hundred more and a few hundred more. But don't let the cost of something that makes you money stop you from doing it. That doesn't make any sense.
Steve, anybody who's listening to you talk to me is probably wondering right now, how do I get a hold of Steve Sipress and get him to help me? Because you're a wealth of knowledge and experience. So how do people get a hold of you so you can help them make their life simpler and more profitable?
Well, thank you for asking. I will do one caution is it's just me, that I have my clients' calls and all kinds of other things going on, like I'm sure everyone does, but I will do these interviews once in a while, and I'll take calls. But, of course, on a first-come, first-served basis, depending on how many calls come in, it might take me a while to get to all of you. But pretty simply, you want some help from Steve here, go to helpfromsteve.com. So I bought that website because, I'm just a big fan of being simple. You don't have to know how to spell my last name, which is complex, or any of this nonsense, and I must have 50 different websites all over the place. Just go to helpfromsteve.com. It'll have you put in your name, tell me a little bit about your business to save me some time on the call, because we want to use every second of the call to find out a problem that you're having that I can help you solve. And then, once in a while, we decide between both of us, it sounds like this is something that'd be fun and interesting and worthwhile and can make some money, and we want to work together. Yeah, I get some clients once in a while, but even if not, I mean, I'm a I just talked about being on the chess team. I love playing games. That's how I look at business, as a problem to be solved. I love the challenge. So I love doing these. Again, I can't take too many, but first come, first serve. Go to helpfromsteve.com. We get on the phone and tell me your problem and dare me to solve it, and I'll come up with a solution. And if I have a resource I can point you to, or somebody I can connect you to help you some more, or if I would take you on as a client, fine. But even if not, I'll enjoy the call, and we'll solve a problem.
That's brilliant. I've heard a lot of domain names before, but this is a great one. Helpfromsteve.com. How simple. Steve, thank you very much for spending your time today to talk to our listeners on Main Street Maverick Radio. There's so much we talked about that I'm sure anybody who listened to this whole interview got some benefit from it. If they didn't, I don't know what they were doing, because you really gave us a lot of good information, and I wish you well. I wish you continued success with the WOW strategy and with, I don't know how many projects you're into. What is it, 40, 50, 100, and your partners in how many different businesses and writing books and all the things you do. You're a real person to admire and someone to emulate, and I'm glad I had this opportunity to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Joel, the pleasure's all mine, and I love how you said we discussed so much, because I'm feeling like we just scratched the surface and didn't really get into anything. But any help I can give to your audience, I'm very happy about.
Well, what we could do is
thrilled to be here, and it's an honor.
We have to do this again, because anybody who's looking for someone to interview more than once, more than twice, maybe 3, 4, or 5 times, remember his name, Steve Sipress. He's the man. And thanks again, Steve. And it's been another wonderful episode of Main Street Mavericks Radio. Thank you for listening. As I always say, have a little fun every day. Don't save it up. Bye.
You've been listening to Main Street Mavericks Radio with Joel Helfer. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit mainstreetmavericks.com.